Eritrea is a relatively small country on the map, but its location gives it an importance far beyond its size. It sits in the Horn of Africa, bordered by Sudan to the west, Ethiopia to the south, Djibouti to the southeast, and the Red Sea to the north and east. That coastline has made Eritrea a crossroads for traders, empires, religions, armies, and migrants for thousands of years. Its capital, Asmara, lies inland on the high plateau, while ports like Massawa connect the country to one of the world's most strategic maritime corridors. To understand Eritrea, you have to see it as both African and Red Sea facing, a highland society, a coastal gateway, and a country whose modern borders were shaped by colonial rule, war, and an unusually intense struggle for sovereignty. Eritrea covers about 117,600 square kilometers, including islands such as the Dahlak Archipelago and several of the Hanish Islands. Its geography is sharply varied. The Central Highlands are cooler and more fertile than much of the surrounding lowland region, while the eastern coastal plains can be extremely hot and dry. This contrast has mattered historically because communities in the highlands, lowlands, and coastal zones developed different livelihoods, languages, and connections with neighboring regions. The Red Sea coastline linked Eritrea to Arabia and wider maritime trade networks, while the highlands tied it closely to the histories of northern Ethiopia. Geography did not just shape settlement patterns, it shaped politics, identity, religion, and the repeated competition for control over the territory. The human story in Eritrea is extremely old. Hominid remains found in the area have been dated to around 1 million years ago, and anthropological research suggests the region may preserve important evidence related to human evolution. This is not surprising. The Horn of Africa is part of a wider zone that has played a central role in the study of early humans and ancient migrations. Long before modern states existed, the lands that became Eritrea were home to communities adapting to coastlines, mountains, dry plains, and trade routes. This deep past matters because it reminds us that Eritrea is not simply a modern political creation. It is part of one of the oldest inhabited landscapes in human history. One of the most important ancient powers connected to Eritrea was the Kingdom of Aksum, centered in what is now Eritrea and northern Ethiopia. Established around the 1st or 2nd century AD, Aksum became a major regional force, trading across the Red Sea and linking Africa with Arabia, the Mediterranean, and beyond. The Persian religious figure Mani reportedly considered Aksum one of the 4 great powers of the world of his time, alongside Rome, Persia, and China. Around the middle of the 4th century, Aksum adopted Christianity, helping make the highlands one of the oldest Christian regions in the world. This ancient legacy still echoes in Eritrea's religious landscape, architecture, manuscripts, and historical memory. After Aksum's decline, the region did not simply disappear from history. From the medieval period onward, dynasties such as the Zagwe and Solomonid rulers held varying degrees of influence over the plateau and Red Sea coast. Eritrea's central highlands were historically known as Marab Melash, meaning beyond the Marab, referring to the area north of the Marab River. This zone functioned as a northern frontier of Ethiopian kingdoms, often governed by an official called the Bar Negus, or King of the Sea. The title itself reveals the strategic importance of the region. Whoever controlled the highlands and access to the coast could influence trade, taxation, military movement, and contact with the wider Red Sea world. In the 16th century, Eritrea's coastline and highlands became part of a wider contest involving the Ottoman Empire, local powers, and Ethiopian states. The Ottomans gained influence along parts of the Red Sea coast, but their long effort to conquer and dominate the highlands failed. The terrain, local resistance, and regional political complexity limited their control, eventually forcing arrangements that left them concentrated mainly on the coastline. Later, in the 19th century, another outside power entered the picture, the Khedivate of Egypt. In 1865, much of the coastal lowlands came under Egyptian rule. These layers of outside influence show why Eritrea's coast was repeatedly targeted. It was a strategic strip facing one of the world's most important seas. Modern Eritrea's borders were largely formed under Italian colonial rule. In 1885, Italy took control of Massawa, and Italian troops expanded inland toward the highlands. By 1889, the colony of Italian Eritrea had taken shape, giving the territory the boundaries that largely define the country today. Italy developed Eritrea as a colonial possession, investing in roads, railways, ports, and urban planning, especially in Asmara. But colonial development was never neutral. It served imperial strategy, labor extraction, and military ambitions in the Horn of Africa. Eritrea became a base for Italy's wider regional goals, including its conflicts with Ethiopia. The colonial period left behind infrastructure and architecture, but also deep political and social consequences. Italian rule lasted until World War II, when British forces defeated Italy in the region and Eritrea came under British military administration in 1942. After the war, Eritrea's future became an international question. In 1952, following a United Nations decision, Eritrea was federated with Ethiopia. In theory, Eritrea would have internal self-government through a local parliament, while Ethiopia would handle foreign affairs and defense. But this arrangement did not last. In 1962, the Ethiopian government dissolved the Eritrean parliament and formally annexed Eritrea. For many Eritreans, this was the turning point that transformed political frustration into a full independence struggle. The question of Eritrea's status became not just administrative, but existential. The Eritrean War of Independence became one of Africa's longest and most defining liberation struggles. The Eritrean Liberation Front was organized in 1961, and over the following decades, Eritrean fighters battled successive Ethiopian governments. The war was shaped by difficult terrain, shifting Cold War politics, internal divisions, and enormous civilian hardship. It was not only a military conflict, it also created a powerful national identity built around sacrifice, discipline, and resistance. In 1991, Eritrean forces achieved de facto independence after Ethiopian government forces were defeated. Then, in 1993, Eritrea held an independence referendum, and the result led to internationally recognized, de jure independence. For many Eritreans, independence was the fulfillment of a generation-long struggle. Eritrea is often described as a multi-ethnic country, and that diversity is central to understanding it. There are 9 recognized ethnic groups, each associated with its own language: Tigrinya, Tigray, Saho, Kunama, Nara, Afar, Beja, Bilan, and Arabic-speaking communities. Tigrinya is the most widely spoken language, and Tigrinya, Arabic, and English serve as working languages. The largest communities are the Tigrinya, who make up about half the population, and the Tigray, who make up around 30%. Most Eritreans speak Afroasiatic languages either from Ethiopian Semitic or Cushitic branches, while some groups speak Nilo-Saharan languages. This linguistic landscape reflects centuries of highland, lowland, coastal, and cross-border connections. Religion in Eritrea is also deeply tied to geography and history. Most people follow Christianity or Islam, with a small minority practicing traditional faiths. Christianity has ancient roots in the highlands, connected to the Aksumite adoption of Christianity in the 4th century and the broader Ethiopian and Eritrean Orthodox traditions. Islam has an equally important historical presence, especially through Red Sea connections, coastal trade, and communities in the lowlands. For centuries, Eritrea's religious communities have lived within overlapping cultural zones: African, Middle Eastern, Highland, and coastal. This does not mean relations have always been simple, but it does mean Eritrea's identity cannot be reduced to one religion, one language, or one cultural story. Since independence, Eritrea's political system has become one of the most closed in the world. It is formally a unitary one-party presidential republic, but is widely described by outside observers as a de facto totalitarian dictatorship. National legislative and presidential elections have never been held, and Isaias Afwerki has served as president since independence in 1993. International human rights organizations often rank Eritrea among the worst countries in the world for civil liberties, political freedoms, press freedom, and indefinite national service. The Eritrean government rejects many of these allegations, calling them politically motivated. This dispute between state sovereignty and international criticism is one of the defining tensions in how Eritrea is discussed globally. Eritrea is not isolated geographically, but it is politically unusual in its foreign relations. It is a member of the United Nations and the African Union, and it holds observer status in the Arab League, reflecting its Red Sea and Arabic language connections. At the same time, its regional relationships have often been tense, especially because of past conflicts and border disputes. Eritrea was also part of the Intergovernmental Authority on Development, a regional organization in East Africa, until withdrawing in December 2025 while accusing the organization of becoming a tool against countries like itself. These choices fit a broader pattern. Eritrea strongly emphasizes independence, self-reliance, and suspicion of external pressure. One of Eritrea's most striking symbols is Asmara, the capital. In 2017, Asmara was designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site for its well-preserved Italian modernist architecture. The city contains cinemas, villas, government buildings, factories, and boulevards that reflect early 20th century design, especially from the Italian colonial period. But Asmara is more than an architectural museum. It represents the layered contradictions of Eritrea itself: ancient roots and modernist streets, colonial legacy and national pride, cultural diversity and political centralization, Red Sea openness and state isolation. Eritrea's story is not simple. It is a story of geography, empire, faith, resistance, independence, and a country still defined by the difficult question of how freedom is protected after it is won. If you found this helpful, please like this video and subscribe for more explainers.